Hello everyone, welcome to the next session of Indian Business Houses. This is Dr. Swati Mishra from International School of Business Management at Suresh Gyan Vihar University. And today we will be discussing one of the most important topics of any organization's governance, which is none other than corporate governance. We have already discussed a lot about the Indian society and how the businesses and the society are interrelated to each other, how their relationship is interdependent, how their existence is interdependent. So it is now a time for us to study as to what is the role of a corporate house towards the society in which it functions, flourishes, and grooms and grows. So, the learning objectives of today's session are to give the learners an understanding of what a business's role is towards the society. This session also aims at providing an understanding of the corporate social responsibility and also to give an insight to the learners about the business ethics or the codes of conduct which should be followed by the business houses when they run in a society. And all this basically contributes to the societal well-being and the well-being of the corporate house as a whole. After this session, you will have a detailed understanding of what a business's role is towards the society. You will have an understanding of the corporate social responsibility of an organization or a business house, and you will also have an in-depth understanding of the business ethics. So we have already studied the business environment and the factors that affect the Indian business houses. So after that, in the previous session, we had studied as to what kind of factors are prevailing in the Indian society and of course the society globally, and what does the society expect from the business houses which flourish in throughout the globe, and what does Indian society expects from the Indian business houses as a whole. So, it is now very important for us to understand as to what and how a business needs to pay back to the society. So with this, we will be moving ahead, and the first terminology that I had introduced to you people in the previous session was corporate social responsibility. We all have heard of this term, corporate social responsibility, and what corporate social responsibility actually means. It is also termed in brief as the CSR. Right. So basically, this CSR can be described as an approach by which a company recognizes that its activities have a wider impact on the society as a whole, and also that the development of that society in which this organization is flourishing, that development in turn actually supports the company to pursue its business successfully. And of course that is interdependent, the growth of the company and the growth of the society both are interdependent and interrelated to each other. So that is why this CSR also can be seen as an approach by which a company can actively manage the economic, social, environmental activities, as well as the human rights of the employees who are working with the organization, and the human rights of the people who are directly or indirectly related to the organization, all the stakeholders of the organization, as well as the human rights of the general public. Because when an organization prevails in a particular society, that society gets impacted by that business a lot. whether the products of the or that organization, or whether the services of that organization are are used by the public or not, but the general activities of the business would definitely make an impact on the society. For example, if an organization is producing any product, which is creating some byproducts which are hazardous for the environment of a particular area where that organization is working or functioning, then the public is always, their life is hampered due to the pollution that is created by that organization. So this is just an example that I'm giving as to how an organization's activities or functions will affect the general public also. And then, of course, when a very big organization like the big business houses that I've just mentioned, when they are surviving in a particular country, it is their role to, because the society gives them so much of opportunities, the nation provides them with so much of benefits, the nation creates good policies for the organization so that the organization can flourish. So it is the that corporate houses role to, in turn, do something in the betterment of that organization, do something which can develop the society. If there are any ailments in the society, then it should support the country to remove those ailments. For example, at the time when Jamshedji Tata was there and smallpox was, increasing like anything, and in India, WHO had requested Jamshedji Tata to support Indian government in the eradication of smallpox disease. And then Tatas came into the picture and they took the responsibility, and so they supported the country with all sorts of monetary support and other types of amenities that could be provided. And within a span of 1.5 years, India was declared free of smallpox. And similarly, even today at the time of COVID, and COVID-19 has struck India so badly, not it's globally there, and even Indians were struck so badly, and there were so many numerous casualties, and it was so widespread. That time also, so many big business houses, came in and gave so much of donations and contributions, and still Tatas also did so well. And Ratan Tata was generous enough, at one point of time when COVID had just started in India. We all remember that at that time, the doctors which were working as the health workers for protecting the COVID-19 patients, they could not go back home because they could be a carrier of the virus, and their families could get infected, and they could be a source of spread of the disease. So these health workers were actually, Tata had opened its 5-star hotels, the Taj Group hotels, for these doctors and the other healthcare workers, so that they could stay in there, and food and every amenity was provided to them. So this was so generous, and the biggest donor in at the time of COVID was, out of all the business houses, was the Tatas. Of course, Reliance was also there, and the other business houses also supported in this. So what is all this? These are all the CSR activities that these big organizations have been doing. So, this approach is basically derived from the principles of sustainable development, and the sustainable development and good, as we say. And this is nothing else but corporate governance. Okay. So now we will be moving ahead with the discussion, and we will be discussing as to what exactly corporate governance is. sometimes the corporate failures and the widespread dissatisfaction with the way, many corporate houses function have actually led to the realization, and this realization has been global, right, at the global platform. The realization of the need to put in place a proper system of corporate governance. So, corporate governance is basically concerned with the holding of the balance between the economic and the social goals, right, of an organization, and also to create a balance between the individual and the communal goals. So, the governance framework is there to encourage the efficient use of resources and equally to require accountability uh, for the stewardship of those resources. So the aim basically is to align as nearly as possible the interest of individuals, corporations, and society as a whole. So the incentive to the corporations and to those who own and manage those corporations, is to adopt an internationally accepted governance standards. And these governance standards will help them to achieve their corporate aims also, and of course to attract good investments in their corporates because of this. So the incentive for their adoption by states is that these standards will strengthen the economy and discourage any kind of fraud and mismanagement that is occurring in their organization. So, if we talk about corporate governance as a whole, corporate governance will not only, bring in a good structure in the society. It will, create a good environment in the organization also as a whole. So, if we talk about the relevance of corporate governance, there are at least three reasons which have triggered of concern in the corporate governance in our country. Like, if we talk about the new economic policy, the year in which the new economic policy was brought in and liberalization occurred, you know, so ever since 1991, the country has moved into liberalized economy, and one of the victims of the market based economy is transparent, fair business practice. So, several instances of these mismanagement have been alleged, and with some well known and senior executives being hauled up for non performance or sometimes non compliance with the legal requirements. So, in these cases, both the domestics as well as the foreign investors are becoming more demanding, and more demanding. By more demanding, I mean in their approach towards the companies in which they have invested their funds. So they seek information also, and they want to influence the decisions also. In some cases, the interest of the non-promoter shareholders and those of those small investors are increasingly being undermined. In some cases, several MNCs have sought to set up 100% subsidiaries and transfer their businesses to them. So, in many cases, there was no thought of consultation with non-promoter shareholders. In this context, some norms of behavior to ensure responsive behavior towards these non-promoter shareholders and of course, the other stakeholders also would be of a very great help. And that is the reason why corporate governance is so relevant in today's society and is so important for the organization also. If we talk about the focus of corporate governance, basically the corporate governance is concerned with the values, the vision, and the visibility of the organization. So it is about the value orientation of the organization, the ethical norms which should be followed when the performance of the organization is concerned, and the direction of development also, right? The direction of development as well as its social accomplishment of the organization, and how it can make its performance visible, how it can make its practices visible to the society. So this is what corporate governance actually focuses on. So corporate management is basically concerned with the efficiency of the resources and value addition, wealth creation within, of course, the broad parameters of the corporate philosophy, which are all established by corporate governance. So this is what is the focus of corporate governance is on. Meanwhile, if we talk about the importance of corporate governance, although I have already spoken about it so much that you might have understood as to what is the importance of corporate governance, but still, the studies of various firms in India and of course abroad also have shown that the markets as well as the investors, they take notice of well managed companies, and they respond very positively to them, and they also reward such companies with higher valuations. In other words, they have a system of good corporate governance. Strong corporate governance is, of course, indispensable to the resilient and vibrant capital markets, and is an important instrument for the investor protection also. So, if we talk about corporate governance, it also prevents any kind of insider trading. Under corporate governance, the corporates which are working with that organization or any corporate house, they are expected to disseminate the material price sensitivity information in a very timely and proper manner, so that the society is aware of each and every action of the organization as to what is happening in the organization, what kind of activities are occurring, whether they are actually for for the societal benefit as a whole or not, whether the organization is only concerned about its own personal objectives of profit maximization. So it also ensures that till such information is made public, the insiders abstain from transacting in the securities of the companies. The principal should be disclose or desist. Corporate governance, besides protecting the interest of shareholders and all other stakeholders which are associated with that corporate house, it contributes to the efficiency of a business enterprise, to the creation of wealth, and to the country's economy. So, if we talk about a good corporate house and which is performing corporate governance very well, then that good corporate governance is basically considered a vital aspect of that organization from the medium as well as long-term point of view. And this actually enables the firms to compete with the internationally sustained ways and make them come into practice in its organization also, and not only to improve the standard of living materially but also to enhance the social cohesion here. Now that we have understood as to what is the importance of corporate governance, we should also be aware of the prerequisites here. So, if we talk about a good corporate governance, there are a few requirements of having good corporate governance in your organization. And some of them have been mentioned here in front of you on the screen, which are, that a proper system consisting of clearly defined and adequate structure of roles, authority, and responsibility should be there. There should be a vision, the principles and norms which indicate development paths, normative considerations, and guidelines and norms for performance also. There should also be a proper system for guiding, monitoring, reporting, and controlling all the activities of a corporate house, so that you are aware of each and every activity that is occurring, and you can have a proper control over them. Now we move ahead of the corporate governance towards the corporate social responsibility. As far as this social responsibility is concerned, it is basically considered as an obligation of the decision makers to take the actions which improve and protect the welfare of the society as a whole, along with the interests of the organization also kept in mind. So each and every decision that a businessman takes and every action he contemplates, they all have social implications. Be it deciding on diversification, expansion, opening of a new branch, closure of an existing branch, or maybe replacement of the employees by machines, uh, when an automatization of the branch is done. The society is affected in one way or the other. Like if automatization of an organization takes place, and it is very obvious that a lot of people will lose jobs. So, whether this issue is significant towards the society or not, the businessman should keep his social obligation in mind before contemplating any action. So, there are multiple arguments in the favor of social responsibility. I have posted a few in front of you. Like, the business has to respond to the needs and expectations of the society. It has to, undertake improvement of the social environment, uh, wherein, both society and the business get benefited. The social responsibility basically discourages any kind of additional government regulation and intervention, but the business has a great deal of power which should be accompanied by an equal amount of responsibility, right? And responsibility, if we talk about this responsibility, it is towards the society and the nation in which that organization is functioning and flourishing. So the concept of social responsibility basically protects the interest of all the stockholders of the organization. It also creates a favorable public image for the organization. So this is actually a benefit for the organization which is actually incorporating CSR activities. So business has the resources to solve some of the society's problems. One of the major resources, of course, the funds which it can dissipate towards the society's benefit and development. So it is always better to prevent social problems through business involvement rather than trying to cure them later on. Now, of course, there are a few arguments against social responsibility also. Like, for example, too much of CSR can reduce economic efficiency. It would create excessive costs for the business. It can weaken the international balance of payments. Then, of course, business has enough power and social involvement would further increase its power and influence in the society. And they can actually start thinking that because we are doing so much of CSR, and because we are involved in so many important decisions in the society, since we fund a lot of activities of social benefits, we can have a say in the government decisions also. And this actually starts creating a very dictatorial kind of attitudes in the organizations. Business people actually lack the social skills necessary to deal with the problems of the society. So that is why, sometimes it is considered that CSR is only, a kind of whitewashing that an organization is doing to hide the patches that it is creating in the society, the dark patches that it is leaving in the society. So, and then they of course also have an argument that business is not really accountable to the society, because it is already contributing a lot by bringing in employment and development in the society through increased economic activities, bringing in FDIs and all. So these are a few arguments which are against the social responsibility that are posed by some of the business houses. If we talk about social stakeholders, the managers who are concerned about a corporate social responsibility, they need to identify various interest groups which can, affect the functioning of a business organization and may be affected by its functioning also. So, business enterprises are primarily responsible towards six major groups, and these are the six major stakeholders, social stakeholders to which an organization is responsible. The first one of them, of course, being the shareholders of the organization, then the employees of the organization, of course, the customers of the organization, and then the creditors, suppliers, and other organizations and agencies which are linked up with the organization, then the society at a large, and the government. So these are the six groups which are called the interest groups of the social stakeholders. They can be affected for better or worse by the business activities of the corporate houses that are carried out by that corporate house. Now let's talk about what is social responsiveness. Social responsiveness, or SR, is the ability of a corporation to relate its operations and policies to the social environment in ways that are mutually beneficial to the company as well as to the society. So, in other words, it refers to the development of organizational decision process whereby the managers actually anticipate and respond to the areas of the social responsibility by managing the social responsibilities very well. So there is always a need to measure the social responsiveness of an organization, which has also led to the concept of social audits. So the social responsiveness of an organization can be basically measured on the basis of the few criteria that are right now shown to you on the screen, like contributions to the charitable and civic projects, the assisting the voluntary social organizations in fundraising, employee involvement in the civic activities, proper reuse of materials, which is also beneficial to the environment and reduces pollution in the environment, equal employment opportunity to everybody in the society, promotion of the minority groups in the society, direct corporate social responsiveness and investment, then fair treatment of employees. That is one of the most important aspects if we consider, as a whole for a corporate social responsiveness. And of course, to provide them safe and quality products to the consumers. And of course, the last and not the least, pollution avoidance and control. So once we have discussed what is corporate governance, then we discussed the corporate social responsibility, what is corporate social responsibility, and different activities that should be, of key concern for an organization when it is carrying out some socially responsible activities. Now we need to also understand another very important aspect as far as the running of business house is concerned, which is nothing but business ethics. So now let us discuss, first of all, as to what is this business ethics. What do we should understand by this terminology, which we know call as business ethics. So the two issues an organization that are there are an organization's social responsibility and responsiveness, right? They ultimately depend upon the ethical standards that an organization is maintaining and the managers and the other employees of the organization are following. Okay. So this term ethics, it commonly refers to the rules or the principles that actually define the right and the wrong conduct by the organization and its employees. So if we try to define ethics, it is defined as the discipline dealing with what is good and bad and with moral duty and obligation. So, business ethics is concerned with truth and justice and has a variety of aspects also, such as the expectations of society, fair competition in the society, advertising, public relations, social responsibilities, consumer autonomy, corporate behavior in the home country as well as abroad also. So all these aspects are covered under the codes of ethics that an organization should follow. And these codes of ethics, or we can also call them as the normative framework that an organization is framing, which decides the kind of code of conduct that each and every employee of that organization, each and every associate of that organization has to follow. That is what we call as the business ethics. So let's move ahead with the discussion. Now, once we have understood as to what are business ethics, we also need to understand as to what are the different types of business ethics that we are talking about. So, one aspect, one very important type is moral management. Moral management basically strives to follow all sorts of ethical principles and precepts. Moral managers basically strive for success but never violate the parameters of the ethical standards, which means that yes, we are going to work for the success of the organization, we are going to work with the aim of profit for the organization, but whatever ethical standard has been set by the organization, we are not going to break them or violate them. So they seek to succeed only within the ideas of fairness and justice towards the society and the stakeholders of the organization. So these moral managers basically follow the law not only in letter but also in spirit. So this moral management approach is likely to be in the best interest of the organization for a long run and in the best interest of the society as at a whole. Now the next type is amoral management. This approach is neither immoral nor moral, but it ignores the ethical considerations. So, moral management is also broadly categorized into two types: intentional and unintentional. When we talk about intentional moral managers, they exclude ethical issues because they think that general ethical standards are not appropriate to the business. But unintentional immoral managers do not include ethical concerns because they are inattentive or insensitive towards the moral practices or moral implications of an organization that are supposed to be followed. Now, if we talk about the immoral management is synonymous with the unethical practices in the business actually. So this kind of management not only ignores the concerns, it is actively opposed to the ethical behavior, which means that they don't want to follow any ethical code of conduct. And that is why it is called as immoral management. So, what is this need of having business ethics in an organization? Why do we need to have business ethics? Basically, these ethics correspond to the basic human needs. It is a human trait that, the man desires to be ethical, not only in his private life, but also in his business. So these basic ethical need, they compel the organization to be ethically oriented. Any kind of, values that exist in the society or any kind of values which exist in an individual, they create this credibility with the public for an organization. So a company is also perceived by the public to be very, very ethically strong, morally strong, and of course, socially responsive, right? And the company which is considered as ethically and socially very responsive will always be honored and respected in the society. So that is the reason why all the big business houses like Tatas, Wadias, when they are respected in the society, the main reason is their responsiveness towards the society and the ethical code of conduct and behavior that they have. So the management basically has the credibility with its employees precisely because it has credibility with the public. An ethical attitude basically helps the management in making better decisions because ethics will force a management to take various aspects into consideration while making decisions, and those aspects are economic aspects, social aspects, and of course the ethical aspects, which means that for each and every step that an organization is taking or each and every decision that an organization is making, they should first ask a question whether whatever I am doing is going to benefit the society as a whole or is it going to be harmful for the society. And the second question that he needs to ask to himself is whether whatever action or decision an organization is taking, is it ethically right or ethically wrong? Right? So, unless these things are associated in the code of conduct of an organization, the organization is never going to achieve goodwill, respect, reputation in the society. So all those companies which are value driven companies, they are sure to be successful in the long run, though in the short run they may lose money. But the goodwill that they will achieve is going to be very fruitful and beneficial for them in a long run. So ethics are important because the government, law and lawyers, they cannot do everything everywhere and they cannot be present everywhere in the society. So it is upon us to be ethically and morally very strong when we are working in an organization so that the interests of the society can be protected and safeguarded. So here are some ethical guidelines that I consider very important, and they are also mentioned in multiple books of, business ethics. I have jotted them down for you, and they are, presented in front of you on the screen. First one is obeying the law. Of course, the obedience of law, preferably both in letter and spirit of the law, is one of the highest requirements by an organization. To always tell the truth, to build and maintain long-term trust in the society, and of course a win-win relationship with the relevant stockholders. You always have to be truthful. Then to uphold human dignity, by giving a due importance to the element of human dignity, by treating the people with a lot of care, concern, compassion, and respect, is what actually is termed as human dignity. But this is also known as giving value to a human being. And of course, all the organizations should also adhere to the golden rule, which says that do unto others as you would have others do unto you. Which means that the way you want others to treat you, you have to treat the others likewise. Unless you are doing that, your organization is going to be highly affected, and not in the good terms but in the bad terms, and you will not be in the good books of the society. You will not carry the goodwill that you wish to create for your organization. Then of course, the premium non-sayers, above all, do no harm and allow the room for participation, soliciting the participation of stockholders rather than paternalism. And it emphasizes the significance of learning about the needs of the stakeholders and to work for the benefit of the stakeholders. And you should always act when you have the responsibility. For example, if the managers have the responsibility of taking an action, whenever they have the capacity or adequate resources to do so, they should take an action in the benefit of the society or for the well-being of the human resources that are associated with the organization, and of course the stakeholders that are associated with the organization. So here are some tools for ethical management that you should know and understand. The first one is top management commitment. Like the managers can prove their commitment and dedication for work by acting as role models for the society through their own code of conduct, through their own behaviors, which they can present as an ideal code of conduct for the other employees in the organization. The next tool is the code of ethics, which means that a formal document should be created by the organization, and that document should be made available to each and every employee on the first day of his recruitment in the organization. They should know that what are the ethical rules that are expected by them to be followed when they are working in that organization, right? And the code is also helpful in maintaining these ethical behaviors amongst the employees also towards each other, right? So that nobody is using any kind of malpractices to within an organization to achieve any kind of benefits, to achieve any kind of promotions or salary increments and salary hikes. So the third tool that I want to state here should be a committee which is controlling and managing the code of conduct in an organization, and the ones which are checking whether the ethical behavior is followed by each and every member of the organization or not. So each and every organization has to appoint an ethics committee, which should consist of internal as well as external directors, which institutionalize the ethical behavior in the organization. Then, of course, a lot of ethics audits should be carried out, which means, any kind of systematic assessment of the conformance to the organizational ethical policies understanding of those policies and identification of serious deviations requiring any kind of remedial action should be carried out. Ethics training, like ethical training, enables managers to integrate employee behavior in ethical arena with major organizational goals. Then there should be an ethics hotline also, which means a special telephone line should be provided which enables the employees to bypass the normal chain of command in the reporting of their experiences, expectations, and problems in the organization. The line should be usually handled by an executive appointed to help resolve the issues that are reported to that executive. So if we try to summarize today's session, nowadays corporate governance has become a very integral and important aspect or a subject that should be studied with by all the business management students also, because tomorrow you are going to enter into organizations and tomorrow you are going to be the responsible employee of an organization who has responsibility not only towards the organization but towards the society at a large. So it is common that the minority investors rarely attend the meetings where it is pretty clear as to who has the power to implement the changes. In capital markets, large investment banks, particularly any kind of foreign institutional investor, perform the function of making a judgment about the company and its management. So there is a strong incentive for corporate managements and they themselves adopt transparent processes and good governance practices also. They have sought to cultivate an image of being honest with their investors and of being concerned about their shareholders and about being concerned towards the value maximization for their shareholders as well as the investors. So the situation in India is changing slowly, and more progressive companies are voluntarily accepting tougher accounting standards and more independent directors than are mandated by the law. They are also adopting more healthy governance practices today, and all these are in turn benefiting the organization and the societies both. So, with this, we have actually come to an end of our discussion session of corporate governance and business ethics. And now I will be presenting a small quiz to all of you based on the topic that we have discussed today. So, here is my first question for all of you. Corporate governance is concerned with holding the balance between economic and A. Social goals, B. Organizational goals, C. A and B both, D. None of these. And the answer is A. Social goals. Corporate governance, second question, corporate governance is concerned with holding the balance between economic and social goals and between individual and dash social goals, organizational goals, communal goals, all of the above. The answer is C, communal goals. Here is the next question. A system of good corporate governance requires which of the following? A proper system consisting of clearly defined and adequate structure of roles, authority, and responsibility. B. Vision, principles, and norms which indicate development path, normative considerations, and guidelines and norms for performance. C. A proper system for guiding, monitoring, reporting, and controlling. D. All of the above. And the answer is C. A proper system for guiding, monitoring, reporting, and controlling. Question number 4. Social responsiveness is the ability of a corporation to relate its operations and policies to the social environment in ways that are mutually beneficial to the company and to the society, whether it is true or false. And the answer is A, true. Which of the following is not a type of business ethics? A. Moral management. B. Amoral management. C. Rural management. D. Immoral management. And the answer is obviously C. Rural management. Which of the following is not a tool of CSR? Top management company, ethics committee, ethics training. It's not a tool of CSR, it's a tool of business ethics actually. So, and the answer is, of course, D, criticism of ethics. The next question is, which of the following are the priorities of the developing countries? A, improving the business environment for private sector activity. B, strengthening capacity in the public sector and improving the quality of governance. C, scaling up investment in infrastructure and ensuring its effectiveness. D, all of the above. And the answer is D, all of the above. Eighth question is, the two issues, an organization's social responsibility and responsiveness, ultimately depend on A, ethical standards of manager, B, grooming of the labor, C, quality control of the organization, D, perceptions of the management. And the answer is A, ethical standards of the manager. Next question, contributions to the charitable and civic projects, assisting voluntary social organizations in fundraising, employee involvement in civic activities are all a measure of A, corporate governance, B, corporate social responsibility, C, social responsiveness, D, ethical code. And the answer is C, ethical code. Sorry, C, social responsiveness. I'm extremely sorry. Next question, corporate social responsibility can be described as an approach by which a company actively manages the economic, social environment and human rights of its activities. True or false? And the answer is A, true. So with this, we have come to an end of the quiz and this session on corporate governance, corporate social responsibility, and business ethics. I hope that all of you are seeking far more interest in these sessions of Indian business houses. With this, I'm officially closing this session for today, and we'll be continuing with some more sessions with some more topics of Indian business houses. This is Dr. Swati Mishra from International School of Business Management at Suresh Gyan Vihar University, Jaipur, signing off. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.